everything together to get it working as a unit.
Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, I respect what Mr. Caines is saying, but I spoke with Mr. Caines up at St. Monica's, and right now it's really hurting, like it's hurting me right now to speak about this situation. You know, that's my family, that's my bra. Like, you know, you can't bring back something you take away. This is hurtful. Like, really, I want to know, like, is that the fact that everybody knows is the situation, whatever the situation is, you know, what is going to happen? The solution is what? What is the solution? The problem is her. The problem is here. There's no solution. It's going. Youth is going. You know.
My brother.
What is the solution?
I think
you can do policing, you can do whatever you want. It's not going to cost nothing. It's not going to do nothing. It is the problem. What is the problem? What's the problem? What, you don't like me? Huh? I don't, it's not a fact. I work. I see you, Mr. Caines. I see you up there. You know, we have eye to eye. I'm not one of them people. I have a daughter and a son, yo. I have a mama. I have a sister. I have a brother-in-law that's right down the hill. This is going to happen, but it's what is going to stop it? Really, I'm turning to my eyes because I can't even let my child go down at a playground that government put on there for the children.
Okay, so we're going to have to let the panel have a chance to respond and accept our condolences. I think I speak on behalf of everybody here.
Gary, when you are called like that, as a man, the only thing you can do is your heart bleeds. Just really quickly, I was out there at the scene when it happened, and it is probably the most sobering thought and sight that I've seen when I opened up and I saw an 80-year-old lady as she peered through the window of her house, and she had blinds on her dwelling. It's at the corner of Glebe Road and Mission Road, and I watched the lady every 5 minutes peer through. I watched as people drove across, and the first thing they will say is "not again." I watched members of the community come up to me and they say, "Why us? We're suffering. We're in trouble." And when you look into somebody's eyes that you went to school with, that you grew up with, and they say to you, "We need to do something," it forces you to the point where we are right here, where you say, "Listen, we have to galvanize our community to recognize, even though we have gang activity, we have honest men and women who live in that community who every single day are held in fear."
I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that because if people are really concerned, why aren't they coming out and talking? Why aren't they saying, "Look, this needs to stop. This is what I know. This is how it can be helped"?
I think that's an interesting perspective that you have. I think I would just like to stay on this young man for a specific second. And the reason why I want to tarry there for a minute, Gary, is because there was a man that was hurting. As a person that's a part of our community, I have to say to him that, listen, we have to be there to support you, that you have men around this table that will come and we're going to reach out to you tomorrow. It's very important for us to minister to his spirit first. So at the end of the day, when all the talking is done, that was a man that was pouring out for somebody to help him and somebody to be with him. I think it's important for you to understand, Colin, and I'm sorry I don't know your name, is that there is hope. There isn't. You have to believe that Bermuda is a better place than those young men are showing you. You have to believe that we live in a country where the average and right-thinking people do not condone what is going on. You have to live in a country where you know that everyone is equally as upset as you are. A number of families have gone through these tragic situations, and we as a country have to come together. We feel your pain. I believe that there is a God that can heal your suffering and it can hurt and help your pain. I just want you to know to hang in there and don't ever give up. My prayers are with you and your family.
Yeah, I want to talk about that, and I think your point is very important as well, and I think there's a connection. These guys have brothers, you know, they die for their brothers. I have a brother who isn't here, who's homeless and out on the street. And every single day, I wish that I could replace myself with my brother. So I understand this feeling of fear. I fear every day that I'm gonna get a call, and my brother was found somewhere, this place or that place. That's my fear. People who say, well, why don't we just speak up? Why don't people in the community just speak up? I find they don't live in these places and probably never have. They don't understand one reality. The fear is real.
It is.
The fear is very, 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 very real. Okay? And it's not just about, let me raise my hand and say something, and then everything's going to be magically put back together. One, because I may or may not be related to that person. Two, they may live 1 or 2 steps next to me. I may not be assured of police protection or protection from my community. I mean, a whole host of reasons. I'm not assured of a better paying job where I can move out of the community or whatnot. I mean, there's a host of things. So I don't want to, that doesn't bother me as much. But what does concern me, and what I want to offer today, is that as great as the fear is in these communities, you now see it trickling to the communities that aren't directly affected. As great as that fear is, it's still a great time for us right now to get involved. Where's the greatest fear, it's the greatest chance of restoring hope. Okay, there's no need to restore hope to places where there is no fear. So where does the answer lie? Where does the solution lie? In the very same places from where the fear exists.
That's exactly right.
And that's what I think what we're trying to bring to the table in just some of our ideas.
Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Good evening, gentlemen. How you doing?
Good evening, sir.
The situation is, I'm a 30-year-old young man. I've seen, the old education system when it was Berkeley and WorkSac and Work Academy and all those other schools. And when you break it down to the mega schools, this seems to have caused a problem for everybody. People may turn a blind eye to it, but obviously the impact of it is you're seeing it now. Because the options for young people to do stuff at high schools been lost. If you go, Mr. Matthews could probably agree. If it's a big group and you can't reach out to everybody, you have to break it down. Yeah. Correct? So as the high schools in the past, they had smaller groups. SANS had a group, WorkSac had smaller groups, VIT-SAC. When this collapsed and you got this one mega school, 2 mega schools, all these particular problems came to roost. You have less football outlets, less sport outlets, less musical outlets. You understand? So this is definitely impact of that system. Now, one of these problems that we have today is that it's not enough outlets for young people to do. I'm 30 years old. Some places that I can't even go. For that somebody might shoot me in my head or whatever.
Can you imagine?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm educated. I can speak good. I ain't got no problem with nobody, but it's just the fact that it could happen. You know what I mean? And I'm not scared or nothing. It's just the fact that I'll be thinking about it more wisely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments, and I want to read some comments that we got via the website. The solution is for the parents of these young people to get together and discuss the problems in the home. That's actually not the one that I wanted to read. Yes, here it is. The government has so many programs for the youth, like free college, mirrors. Some folk can start by volunteering for mirrors. Adult education is also available. Bermuda is blessed, but one has to take advantage of the blessing and stop making excuses for their failures. You wanted to comment on what the gentleman was saying about the
that comes
mega
up.
school and so on.
That comes up all the time, as if, and I understand exactly why it comes up, as if the mega school suddenly made all of our problems, it created all of our problems. I don't believe it did. I believe what we hid in our neighborhoods, the mega school brought into focus. Now, we call it mega school, but those weren't the first mega schools in our existence. If you remember, the old Central School had over 1,000 students at one time, 50 students. If we trace our history, in our 50 students in a classroom, and that's seen as one of the legendary schools in this nation's history. I've been to schools twice the size of any of our schools, probably run better than anything we've ever seen. 1,900 students in the heart of the craziest places in Atlanta. I think it comes down to what quality leadership can bring to a school, and I think that can even overcome some of the things that didn't happen. We grew up in times in Victor Scott and Prospect Primary where things in the neighborhood weren't all that together. I mean, I know some people like to look back on history and everything was all together, but I can attest to the fact that they weren't. But Central School in its day stood as a challenge to the rest of the community. Community actually had to raise its game up because the school was so good at what it did. The Mrs. Stevensons, the Mrs. Simmons, the Mr. Laspers of the world. But back to this point.